What's your personal top business struggle?
Like current or like ever?
What have you had the problem with? Like, not on a sales side, on a micro, on a macro, like ideology, thought process, whatever it may be.
I tend to look at everything through a lens, right? So when I learn something new, I now approach it that way.
Right.
And I think because like there's so much rapid learning, my lenses are switching so quickly.
Right.
And like, how do I want to approach this? How do I want to think about that? So like more recently, that's been something that I think I need to like settle into. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Right, like so you
To me,
like.
it makes a lot of sense, but I don't know, hearing myself say it.
So like you have a lot of stuff like flashes of ideologies, and then like you can't really focus on one or create your own little like jambalaya of ideology, your own.
Both. So when you change your perspective, when you think about things in a different term, you almost test it, right? Now you start to look at it that way.
Right.
And the more you look at it that way, the more you can determine like, is this actually a good approach or is this false positive?
Right.
Right? But when you're
It worked for him, it doesn't work for me.
Something like that. But when you're constantly switching out the lens, you don't give yourself enough time to determine like if this is the right approach or not. There's so much movement.
But I think
Does that make sense?
yeah, I think getting to like what you're saying is sort of like with ideology and certain like fundamental things, you have a macro speed, right? Macro patience. You have patience with those type of ideologies, and we're like on the change of like making that change. You do it quickly, but
But
like.
I don't think it's necessarily impatience. I think it's like a constant learning thing. So what you know today,
Right, but it's
tomorrow,
not.
what you learn tomorrow is like
Right, but
today's absolute.
what I'm saying is it's not a complete recipe
make
change.
sense?
It's not a complete dish change, right? It's not a complete recipe change. What you're saying
In
is
the long run, it's a small little pivot.
correct. It's an added.
It doesn't feel that way in the moment.
Right, but you're saying it's a new dish, but nearly it's just another ingredient.
Right, but you don't know that.
It may not ever
until
taste
you
good
look-
because it's a
until you
bunch of
get here and
ingredients.
then look back.
So from like business acumen, business intelligence, things you learn over time and experience, it's what you thought you would know in 10 years from now, you're gonna hopefully know way more, and you're never gonna think, how are these gonna match, how are they gonna, you may take away from something, from a certain experience that you didn't go into thinking about, or even if I told you the story, you'd be like, how do you learn that from that? But it just happens. So in my opinion, like
That's experience, right?
right, but I'm saying like you learn different things from different experiences. You learn different things from different people and different things that are happening, and you create your own little dish that may taste good to you because it's how your head absorbs all the information and puts it out into a product, whatever that product may be. And some person may take those same ingredients and it doesn't make the same amazing business dish.
Oh no, everybody's ingredients are their own. There's a bunch of ingredients out there, but they're all their own.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely how tech companies, like look at Apple, the iPad, they planned that long time ago, that's something, but it's not the technology they had, so they had to keep.
I think the iPod changed everything.
Right.
The iPod then changed the iPhone, and the iPhone changed the game.
But they did have these things.
They had concepts, but they didn't have the technology to do it yet.
There's a lot
Exactly.
of there's a lot of intersections, right? So the iPod doesn't use Wi-Fi, or maybe the second generation or third.
Wi-Fi wasn't even a thing, I don't
Right,
think
that's
yet.
what I'm saying. So their products grew based on what the market.
Obviously,
was
they can't
allowed.
control everything, so they say like, we have the idea of connecting to the internet wirelessly, but we're not going to create that. We have to wait for that to be created, or maybe we could help get that created, but we're not going to create that. We know it's in the future. We have to be ready to pivot to do that.
Correct. And that's probably exactly where a lot of companies fail, where they're not looking ahead to see what the future is going to be.
It's like what we talked about
They're not looking
yesterday.
to pivot.
It's like Kodak.
Exactly.
Like Kodak was
But what I was saying then,
Kodak had tons and tons of patents, and they balked on digital cameras. They're like,
They actually created the first digital camera.
they're like, who's gonna want to? Everyone wants to do film, but they were a film company, right? So they weren't a camera company. Now the camera companies own the photography game. Like storage is storage, right? Like yes, there's better products and there's hot.
You shouldn't be in the business of film or adjusting or whatever it is. You should be in the business of money. I mean, you do something, but Kodak could have owned the market on digital cameras.
I don't think it's about money. I think it's about evolving because they didn't evolve.
No. But hold on. Money is like fuel.
They underestimated.
They burnt out
Look
the
at
fuel.
Blockbuster. They didn't want to evolve.
No, they overvalued themselves.
Blockbuster.
Yes, Blockbuster for sure, but Kodak as well.
I don't even
They
think it's
overvalued themselves. Hold on. They overvalued themselves as like, we're the film company, right? They thought they reached the pinnacle. They didn't evolve with it.
Overvaluing themselves or not
No.
believing in what's about to.
They thought they had a big enough moat, right? They thought to create a moat where we're the film company. Who can touch us? Digital's got nothing on us.
No.
Blockbuster, the same thing with Amazon. You know what one of their studies was? The reason why they didn't buy? They found that people like to walk around the Blockbuster on Saturday nights and look at the titles on the fucking wall. That was what their study said. People like to do that.
I understand that, but they also, in having the moat, what they're really doing is they're looking backward. They're looking at everything else, but they're not looking forward to what it could be.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
What they should have done is, they should have been spending money developing Netflix ahead of time so that when the world gets there, they're already there.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying.
If you
Like
look
they're
at
overvaluing their
whoever
fast.
small-
And that's what Apple did. Weren't they already ahead of time, even before they released certain things? Or
You're
that's
talking about
why-
more recently.
Yeah.
Probably, but the growth of the internet and Wi-Fi and able to connect and getting online is helpful, wouldn't you say?
I mean that plus like social media helped them a lot.
I mean, think about it. Uber doesn't exist without.
You know what I'm
without
saying? Like
smartphone.
social media, the idea of content marketing, a lot of that stuff helped to sell the iPhone and all that because like this is your laptop now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
people,
but social media also doesn't exist without it.
right? 100%. They're one of the next, but like perfect.
Without the iPhone or without a smartphone, Facebook is a website.
100%.
It's not social media.
Right. They obviously go hand in hand, but I mean, I'd be lying if I know, but obviously, like, there's no way Tim Cook and Steve Jobs sat together and be like, Facebook's going to make us, help us
you
do
don't
sales.
know that. You're
Because you don't know it
just going down
exists.
the road, a
But
giant
that's the difference between Apple and Kodak. Apple said, hey, we're going to be the platform that all these platforms can be on. Kodak said, we're going to be the product that is going to run out, burn itself out. They obviously would have had competition. There was people making cameras already, but they were never in the camera game. They were in the film game.
The crazy part is they actually created the first
patent.
one, and that's where they were like, no, we're not doing
They
it.
could have shut everybody
It's not
down.
like somebody showed up and said, hey, watch out over there, people are doing digital cameras.
Mm-hmm.
They showed up, they did it internally.
They underestimated. That's what they did.
That's quite a way of saying underestimating.
They underestimated. Yeah, no, they took a huge shit. The fidget spinner, not patented.
But in fairness to her, she didn't set out to
100%, I get it.
She just made something.
She made something right, but it's not patented. And
Then again, it's all about money, though, right?
No, but not for her. We're talking about companies. I'm not talking about like just individuals who create things, right?
Okay.
People who have a passion for design
or a young girl who made a mistake, right? We're talking about a company who's making billions of dollars, who a mistake like they made puts them out of business quickly.
Yeah, Kodak was one of the biggest companies in the world.
Oh yeah. I mean, think about it. What was around then? Microsoft, them.
Yeah, but Kodak predates Microsoft by 50 years. maybe
No,
more.
100%. What I'm saying, like big companies back then,
Oh no, you had it.
in like the technology world.
Yeah.
The internet wasn't really like huge,
Right.
so it was like cameras, film, and personal computers of
You know what
Microsoft.
it is, and I think you see this more in the failures. Do you remember the ESPN phone? You remember the Facebook
Yeah,
phone?
I remember that.
But nobody-
ESPN phone?
Yeah, but nobody
ESPN phone.
thinks of ESPN
What?
or Facebook for an ESPN for their failure.
I remember when Facebook
You
did
always
it.
think about your success. So you have to go out there, especially as a company, and we've definitely done this. We've had many ideas that have failed, that we've actually executed, but then they failed, right?
No
You
one
have-
knows about it.
You have to keep doing that, right? Because the goal, and this is like, I know this is cheesy and you guys make fun of me, but this is like what Mark Cuban really stresses in that book, which is like a compilation of stuff. It's not even like a straight up book. What do you call it? He stresses that you're going to fail many times, but nobody's going to remember your failures.
100%.
But to succeed, you have to fail so many times because you don't know what's going to work.
That's what we were talking about with content. Let's just put it out. Put it out at scale constantly. He's gonna have the biggest problem with this because like he likes to be like, why do we make this? It looks stupid. It's gonna be gone tomorrow, Aaron. Let's move on.
No, that's true. I'm seeing that now. I just like when we talk about like my dog ran because my fence. Fell.
That was the first interview.
There are dudes who are missing their homes. And like, we're interviewing
Aaron,
about
that
this
was the
dog.
first interview, and
Thanks, Paula.
the first person that came in, and you don't know how scared I got because I said, Rosie, take these real things, give a little background story, so on,
Right.
but don't go crazy, right? And when she's like, Vince, it says the dog died. I'm like, Paul, show me the rest of them. I read all of them. I'm like, oh, thank God, that was the only like crazy one.